You are live.
Hello, Kiki.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Welcome,
Thank you.
everybody, to Kiki's chat show. Today is Wednesday, 11th November, the year of our Lord 2020. Many things are happening around us, so I do not have a thought for the week because all I want to keep saying to people is stay safe, stay alive.
Sure. Thank you.
Today's topic is a very, very difficult topic, but it's something which happens all the time. Now, my guest today is Dr. Brenya Twumasi, and she is a very amazing woman.
Oh, thank you. That's kind of you.
Bren has 4 professional fields, which are law, psychology, criminal justice, and technology. Technology specifically, which is to do with art and digital learning. Is that right?
Thank you. You're very gracious. Yes, that would be
Now,
right.
given the topic today that we're going to have, which I haven't mentioned yet,
Oh,
Dr. Twumasi has worked with both victim, survivor, and offenders in all those capacities. So she knows the psyche of the victim, the offender, and the survivor. So the victim survivor. She has entered both, she's dealt with both. And so this topic is especially one of the reasons why Dr. Twumasi is here today. I call her Bren. So as we're talking, I will say Bren, but really it's Dr. Twumasi that I should be saying. Good evening and welcome to Kiki's Chat Show.
thank you, Kiki. I'm a little bit nervous because of the topic. It's a topic that people are very sensitive about in my 30-year career about this. So I'm a little bit anxious because I know people get a little bit sensitive about this type of topic.
Bren, even though it's sensitive, I think we are passionate enough to have to feel the need to talk about something which is becoming prevalent,
Yeah,
especially in Africa.
yeah,
Rape is not special to Ghana, it's not special to our beloved country, and it's not special to Africa, it's all over the world. And rape is an issue that is it's still mind-boggling why men feel the need to, when they know very well that it is something that is so precious to the woman, and yet they will intentionally and with intent perpetrate it, act it on a woman just to, I don't know what they want to feel. Now, two reasons why we're talking about this is because over the weekend, a lady, she's 24 years old, she was in her house and an armed robber entered her house to steal.
terrible.
He then entered her bedroom and she was asleep. So she awoke with the guy standing over her and insisting on having sex with her. He tried to put his penis in her mouth and she bit him. She bit him so badly that the next day, when she went to the hospital with her auntie, took her to the hospital to check her because she had been raped, they discovered that the guy she had bitten, who was the armed robber, was also in the same hospital. Now, I was speaking to my uncle who's a doctor who said to me that one of the things that happens to people, especially young girls, women, is that if you know the person, you don't know, most times it's someone you don't know, but even if you know the person, what happens is you freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And
You go into survival mode. The brain goes into the white tunnel, where they just see a very sharp, narrow white area to get into soldier mode. The neurotransmitters and the neural pathways go to that white, narrow, hyper focus to survive.
And at that moment, whilst you are in survival mode, the person does whatever he wants, or he's halfway anyway. Now, most of the time, people who, especially if it's an unknown person, a robber or somebody in the middle of the road in a dark alley or whatever, because you're afraid of your life, you allow this person to do whatever. However, there are times when you know the person, it's in your house, it's your relative.
It's most of the time, sexual assault is done most of the time by far by people you know.
Which is terrible,
Yeah.
indeed. Now, one of the reasons why Brenya is here, Dr. Bren is here, is because she is, we're going to talk about the after effects of these attacks on the women.
The mental health effects and also the physiological effects.
Yes.
Fortunately, Candykisseih and myself, we've known each other for a very long time, since we were young teenagers, and we talked, and fortunately we have not been hurt in that way. However, given our work, we've come across many of the victims and the survivors and offenders. And so beyond our imagination, we're part of the professionals who help the victims, the survivors, and reluctantly, given some of my work within correctional facility, part of my clinical work, reluctantly, I would have offenders. And it's mostly, that work is mostly to support the offender, not to do this to anyone again. So there's a spectrum and a continuum of different types of diverse peoples. And most of us lay people make assumptions about the types who are victims, the types who are survivors, or the types who are offenders. And those assumptions are mostly wrong. So I'm here today to support our wonderful hostess, Kiki, to shed some light on this. Thank you, Kiki.
It's a pleasure. There is another issue, another story about a girl who was selling food in Legon, University of Legon. Now, one of the women called the girl and said to her that some people in upstairs somewhere in one of the rooms wanted to buy her fruit or whatever she was selling. I can't remember what it was. Now, this girl took the food upstairs to where the guys were to buy the food, and they grabbed her into a room and they raped her. Now, this is a young girl who was just selling her wares. She didn't know them. She hadn't done anything to them. And it took a lot of talking to get these boys sacked.
Suspended. They came back, and I was involved in that. I'm not going to go in complete detail to protect people, but as Kiki knows, I do work. Part of my work covers this within both our hometown, our home country, our motherland, Ghana, and part is in the US. And I've been thrust within the law and mental health within this field in some ways since 1982, when I was quite young, pretty much straight out of Achimota School. I was here in the US, and as most all of us do, we worked 2 or 3 jobs pasted together to be able to be a student. And so I was put within the public defenders with the street gangs in 1982, and that's when the journey reluctantly began. So for 30 plus years, I have touched upon this topic too often for my comfort. And so that's what Kiki, our hostess, is mentioning. And so the particular case she brought up, I was involved in it in the background, and I met the victim. I've heard about it within minutes because the offenders at Legon had sent a viral video of the sexual violence and the false imprisonment. And immediately, because it's the work I've done for so long, I was able to write down charges, a list of charges, such as false imprisonment, sexual assault, pornography, which is serious. And then later on in that year, I met the victim, but I will not go into details about that, to be careful. But if you're interested privately, you can ask me.
Well, Bren helped for the boys to be suspended. She also helped the girl because she was put in a safe house. And I'm not sure what happened to her next, because is she in education now? She had to stop her selling.
She went into hiding for various reasons. So the update I have is that she's in hiding for good reason years later.
She's still in hiding.
And that's where the effects of such a unsupported crime has on the victims. And I would like to tell those who are part of our profession, because they know this already, and those who are here learning, that we oftentimes don't mention the male victims and the male survivors of sexual assault. And in different nations, from Burma to Ghana to Canada to Sweden, it's the same thing under the law, but defined differently, and the cultures treat them differently. Cultural influences to treat it differently. So forgive me for the language I'll use, going back and forth from British common law. And British common law is the basis and foundation of Ghana law, and a basis and foundation of US law as well. And then US law, for example, has statutory law, which is per state, but it's built upon the foundations of British common law. So forgive me when I go back and forth to that and mental health. So Kiki, over to you.
The reason why we're talking about this and why we've given you these stories, and there will be another story later by somebody else who's coming on the show to talk about it, is because what happens is, whilst people try and push it under the carpet, and whilst the boys or the perpetrators who do this sort of thing, people are trying to save them, to get them not to go into prison, to claim that they're innocent, they were never like this before, it's peer pressure, etc. The woman is damaged. She's damaged for life. If it's a child, she's damaged for life. Now, we have a duty to our children. I was watching a program today, and a woman said, when you have children, you fight for them. Now, there are some people who know that if someone harms you, your father will rip their heart out. You have great confidence that this is going to happen, or your mother will kill them. Why is it that some people haven't got that? Why is it that we do not feel a duty of care to females in our countries? Why is rape such a big thing, and yet it is hidden so much that children grow up and become women and do not realize that it's, they are enabling perpetrators? Because it happened to you, and you feel that nothing was addressed, or it is too shameful, or society will frown upon you, because there are times when you are raped by your uncle or your stepfather or somebody, and everybody says you're the bad person, you're the naughty girl, you didn't dress well, you enticed them, etc., etc. What happens to that person's psyche? That's what you're here. Tell me, talk to me.
All right. So we have, given the research we do in terms of academic scholarship and the work we do in the trenches, so there are two areas, trench work and academic scholarship, and I do both. We have the statistics about the numbers, and actually we can all, at this point, Google, thanks to Google statistics in various countries. Now, when you Google that, we have a list worldwide of the per 100,000 population, including boys and men who have been raped or sexually violated. We have the list of the highest countries, and right now the highest is South Africa. And when I keep current for speaking to others and my students as a professor. So when you look at the list, you can guess even before you see it that many particular type of nations keep those statistics hidden. And so they come up with 0. However, in trench work and in academic work, we know it's high as well. So there, right now, today, 2020, approximately 1 in 3, 33% of all females in Ghana have, that's 1 in 3, have been a victim of some kind of sexual assault, which includes sexual harassment. When I say the word woman, I want you to always remember men and boys are included. So I'll mention an incident of 2 boys, and then I'll go into the PTS and PTSD, because we speak often from conditioning about the female, and we forget the beautiful, wonderful, valued and adorable male. And so it is my duty to give examples of the male, because we already have many examples of the female in terms of the villages, the teachers all over the world. Our statistical inferences are pretty steady in terms of the human brain and the human mind and the personality disorders and the psychopathy and narcissism that helps this to be done by the perpetrators, offenders. So the boys, Kiki, should I go on? Should I mention?
Yeah.
Okay,
Go
thank
on, and even give an example of the boy that we talked about yesterday.
Okay, so one, these are real true cases, and of course I don't give where it is, and I don't give names so that it can't be detected, particularly since nowadays we do record things. So one, I have many cases I'm extracting 2, so that's why I'm pausing to think. One is someone I've known in the past in the US, and I can say US. And everything I say is truth, so you don't have to assume. And this person has a black belt in karate. They're not from Ghana. And the person mentioned to me, because many people, being a counselor, many people open up and tell me things. This was not a client. I don't mention clients to anyone, so I'm not going to mention clients or patients. And he said that he was at a barbecue outdoors, enjoying the barbecue with an extended family, and they ran out of beer. He was approximately 18 years old, and they ran out of beer, so uncle said, let's go get some beer, and he said, sure, why not? And it was dusk, so they went to get the beer at a convenience store, and on the way back, his uncle tried to sexually assault him. And this person I know has a black belt and was still very stunned and paralyzed. So then he started weeping because he couldn't believe, as strong as he is and as macho as he is, he actually froze into that place where the brain goes to go into soldier mode. But fortunately, because he's a black belt and had practiced defense, which I have as well as a person who teaches police, so I have to model for police using hands instead of guns and so on, right? So I have martial arts as well. He has black belts, and he was able to come out of that white tunnel vision of soldier mode that the brain goes into, and he ran and he escaped. But he wept because of the emotion and the feel, the physiological feel in remembering that memory of years ago. The second one I mention as well for the same reason that I'm mentioning it, because we forget about um, men, and there are many men who've gone through sexual assault, and boys. And this is the last one I'll mention out of many. So this one, since I'm a professor, students will stay behind and mention things to me. And this particular time years ago, the student said, do you mind if I mention you to up the age? Because you mentioned 18, 19-year-old. Now the age is 35. So her uncle was on the side of the road because he had a car problem in the dark. And so a car was stopping and he was happy because he would get help. And in a car were men who tased him, had tasers, and raped him. And he was so broken and devastated, totally so. But fortunately, he had supportive family. Support is extremely important to survival, by the way. To get out of victim to survival, we calculate the support factor in the equation. And so the family, he told them immediately he got help, and the family helps him to overcome it. So that's an episodic. We call that episodic, and that's stranger. But it's chronic as well. So then the question of PTS and PTSD that occurs with sexual molestation, sexual assault and rape is very dire. It's the same as with combat. Now, we have been able as researchers professionally to name PTS as post-traumatic stress, and PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. And we were fortunate to name it because we had a sampling of returnees from Vietnam War, a sampling for research which were manifesting with the same exact symptomology. However, I always tell students that civilians have more PTS and more PTSD than military. And it always surprises people. The reason we have it circulate mostly amongst militaries because they were the population sampling that helped us research this. So in saying that, rape is the PTS effects and PTSD effects are similar to that of combat PTS and PTSD. So you begin to see we differentiate between different types on the continuum line. And we have, it's felonies, and we have different types of felonies from felony A to G, depending on what is done. And I'll take a pause, and if you wish, if you have a question, I can go on and describe exactly what PTS and PTSD is, the symptomology.
That's what I was going to ask you, that what is the difference? Because PTS is post-traumatic stress. So
Correct.
what is the disorder? I mean, is it that you can have the stress without the disorder?
Okay,
And how, my thing is, how do people deal with it? How do you deal with such situations?
Okay, so working backward, people don't deal with it well. They need support, and they need professional support for reasons because family loves the victim who hopefully will become a survivor. Family loves them, they have friends that love them, but they're not equipped to know the depth of the brain function and the physiological function. So for example, throughout with the physiological function, the central nervous system and the parasympathetic and sympathetic systems that are now out of whack. So that's why, reasons why, although we love our family members, they really do need professional help because we're not equipped to know all that. So PTS, many people have had PTS, post-traumatic stress. So for example, if you've witnessed a beating of someone as a grown-up or as a child, you will, if you're a healthy, normal, empathetic, sympathetic person, you'll have PTS, post-traumatic stress, and there's symptoms that are the same as PTSD, but PTSD becomes a disorder, maladaptive disorder, which affects your whole life. And the symptoms from both are you'll have a mixture of clinical depression. So then one must know what clinical depression is. It's not the norm of depression. And then anxiety and flashbacks. So using the military as an example, which most people can do safely, because I like to keep us safe. I don't like to have our listeners become anxious. So when a military person who's been in combat, when they hear at home in their neighborhood when they're safe, a car backfire, they duck like this because the brain goes into survival and tells physiologically the heart to go faster, the lungs to breathe more, the blood to go faster, so you can duck. And that can happen in a grocery store, in a market. It can happen walking in a hallway that's safe. So then also, so we have the clinical depression anxiety, which requires levels of chemical transmitters to be brought up. And that's the medication. It's a sister friend had asked if vitamins could do that. No, that's different from vitamins. Vitamins do other things, but not this. So then you also have recurrent flashbacks, recurrent dreams. The interesting that I want to add, and Kiki, I'll give it back to you, is about the recurrent dreams when the client or patient is actually now seeking consistent support, because most don't have consistent support. In our world, consistent support would be at first twice a week for a while, individual, and then group therapy, and then possibly once a week for a while. And a while means like a year, 2 years, and then one can be healed. But most people don't want to do that. And most people, when they're feeling better, they stop. So they're not healed, but it can be 100% healed.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If
Sure.
you are a 14-year-old, all of this that you're saying is something to do with the Western world where you've been raped.
And Ghana. And Ghana. Ghana
in
has
Ghana,
domestic.
the majority of people, it happens.
Yes.
You're at home.
Yeah.
Nobody,
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right. However, with human nature, statistically, what happens in Ghana, where people are at home, they don't report, happens in every other country as well, whether it's the US or Canada. The figures are so low in terms of the stigmatization and the behavior of family members when they know within this area. So no, the Western world, people think the Western world is different, but it's actually quite the same. That's why the figures are so high. I don't think I mentioned them. 1 in 4 females around the world, Ghana and anywhere else, will be sexually molested by age 18. That's too much. And 1 in 6 boys. And those of us who are trench workers, we see the research is accurate. That's high, and that's Ghana, that's US, that's Burma, that's Pakistan. Yeah, it's so that's why we're talking today, because there are a lot of we call it myths that we human beings have, and we want to grab a hold of the myth because it's a horrible topic. It's the most devastating. When a baby, a 9-month-old, gets raped, I don't want you to Google that, but there's a lot on Google about that. When pediatric surgeons, my friends, have to put them back together, it's horrible, and it's worldwide. And it's not, they don't get support in the US, they don't get support in Ghana. But Ghana does have our domestic violence and victim support unit, which the people are very well trained, just like anywhere else, you see. Anyway, I had to say that because the problem is widespread amongst human beings.
I wish there would be somebody here who actually lives in Ghana who could tell us on this show whether it's dealt with. Because, for example, this girl, several things happened around this girl who bit the man's penis. For me, when I heard that she'd bitten him and he was in hospital, I whooped for joy. I thought girls are doing it for themselves all of a sudden, but this is rare. It hardly happens because
correct. So I work in Ghana with this. So I do have cases and so on. I work with Ghana because of going back and forth, and also because of technology. I work not as practicing it, but as advocacy and activism, and I work with other people as well in Ghana. So I can tell you about that. So in Ghana, it's very underreported. But what I was saying is, in a place like Mexico or US, it's also very underreported. So there's no help. And in the US, police will be informed, but it won't push forward. And in Ghana, police will be informed, but won't push forward. So that's what I mean. So I can get more specific if you wish.
Yeah, but I want to talk some more about the background of this story. Now, after the man was in hospital, he was then arrested. I don't know what has happened because it's only 3 days. Today is Wednesday. It happened over the weekend. Now, with the girl, she was interviewed a camera and microphone was put in front of her face. The whole of Ghana saw it. It's
Terrible.
videoed, it's everywhere, which that's
Terrible.
wrong.
Yeah.
She was asked her name, where she lived. I know she lives in Obuasi,
That's
so
terrible.
everyone knows that. The girl herself was then again interviewed somewhere else, and she had to tell them that she felt traumatized and she needed to somewhere else to stay and all of that. Now, some people were saying because she was calm when she was interviewed, it means that she wasn't that traumatized and all. Now that is absolutely awful.
Yeah, it is horrible.
Absolutely awful, because here you are, you live in a patriarchal situation, you are having to look after yourself, a situation has happened to you, you're not sure about how people feel about it. People have come to you in this shocking mode. You are still in shock. And someone has come to you and is holding a camera and a microphone and is asking you questions. Of course, you're traumatized. Nobody has thought about her safety. On a page that I am on, a platform, WhatsApp platform, somebody was saying, well, she was so calm and collected. Somebody else said, well, she should have known that she shouldn't have done the interview.
Oh,
She
no.
shouldn't have known anything. The girl was attacked. She's in shock. Why do people always blame the victim, though? Those are my issues. What is wrong with people, as somebody saying?
So we have the spectrum of people, right? A continuum. You have offenders that wear in suits who rape their children and rape their wives and no one knows. You have offenders who people stereotype. But the spectrum is all peoples and in every country. And it's devastating. It's terrible. And we do have in cities within a place like the Western world, maybe more treatment centers, which Ghana wouldn't have in cities as many treatment centers. But as humans, we really do behave the same depending on our mindset. So for example, within particular nations, no, actually within, I apologize, all humans, we have people who are psychopathic, which is the antisocial personality disorder, and they have no empathy. We miss that a lot in Ghana. We miss that a lot in the US. That's why I'm a professor of that. The US too has to learn that, because we think the psychopath is the most charming female, the most charming male, and meanwhile, they are the most horrid, abusive people, and they're amongst us.
I believe that, because sometimes people say, oh, but he's too nice, he can't do that. A woman is stressed, she's at home, she's experiencing marital rape, or all sorts of nasty things are happening to her.
That's correct.
And she is not sure who to tell. Because if you tell somebody else, oh, he's not like that.
That is correct. Yeah, and that's human beings. That is correct. It's not just our culture in Ghana. It's in every country. The spectrum of mindsets of humans based on, I didn't mention I'm a behavioral analyst, a criminal profiler. That's why oftentimes I'm thrown into this kind of conversation, which is a horrible one, which I don't like to be in, but I've done the work. So that's why I can keep on saying it's human beings on a continuum. Most people are good people. Most people are nice and caring. Most people have empathy, and empathy is so critically important. And most people have sympathy. So I want to, if you don't mind, Kiki, I want to talk about empathy for a second to answer your question.
Talk about empathy.
Very good.
Got this.
So empathy is where, what the definition, which is the simplest to remember forever, is where you're in another person's shoes, actual shoes, so you understand what they're going through. So for example, Kiki and I have never been raped, so we can't have empathy for rape, but we can have sympathy Do you see that? It's pretty bold because the topic's a horrible topic, so I'm just going there. But we have empathy, say, for going hungry for a day because we couldn't find food. So we know how that feels because we're in the other person's shoes. And we also have sympathy. So now let's go back. On the continuum line of human beings in every country, for various reasons, sometimes it's a little bit genetic, most of the time it's environmental issues. There are people who have antisocial personality disorder. They have absolutely no empathy. You cannot kiss them and love them into empathy. Now, Sweden had research maybe 5 years ago, because time flies, what with COVID-19, everything as well. They had research to show that with the electrodes on the brain, because we use technology to see the brain movement as well, they saw that the psychopath who will kill you in a second, kill a 4-year-old second, not feel a thing, they do have empathy for themselves. They saw it light up in the brain when you ask them, if you're beaten, how would you feel? And then it would light up, it would go away quickly. So we have to give that disclaimer because we're in academia, right? So empathy, many people around you don't have empathy and we excuse it. And that is so dangerous. I love teaching because I want to keep my students safe. And I say it again, many people around you don't have empathy. You can't kiss them or hug them or love them or pray them into empathy. They've never felt it. So for example, if you say, oh my goodness, I have malaria or I have COVID-19, the person will take their phone and say, oh, okay. That's like a dead giveaway for a criminal profiler. Or if you say something more simple, like, achoo, I just sneezed. The person will be like, ignore you on the phone. Now, we can't generalize, but that's what the people who have antisocial personality disorder, which is different frames of psychopathy and different frames of sociopathy. Without continued research, we don't just say psychopath anymore. There's different types. Okay, so they don't feel a thing based on environmental influences from childhood, and sometimes a genetic anomaly like Jeffrey Dahmer had because his father admitted that. The other one is narcissistic personality disorder, and it's different from narcissism. So we say, oh, this society is very narcissistic. That's just saying they're very self-centered and selfish. But when you say the person has narcissistic personality disorder, that's serious. They don't have empathy. And they're rampant.
How do we deal with the young girls who've been raped? How do we address the situation in countries where we shelve it under the carpet? What do we do for the young girls?
Okay, so we have answers, but since this is an interactive chat, Kiki's chat, does your chat have professionals who are giving some answers? Because it'd be nice to see what they say, give them opportunity to talk about their expertise. I don't see the chat, so forgive me.
Yeah, I'll put some up, but somebody just said workplace definitely teaches you that most people have no empathy. Somebody saying it's very scary, polished on the outside, pure evil on the inside.
Yeah.
Somebody saying people make life of extremely.
So I can help with this. So as a behavioral analyst, quote unquote, the colloquialism for that is criminal profiler. We are the trained ones who active listen without senses, and we train others, like I train police. So we see signs that are right there, and I'm going to give you an interesting one. We're talking about.
Let me just read this to you. Somebody said that we are all guilty. That is male and female. A great number of women tend to harbor a patriarchal mindset and will shield the perpetrators willy-nilly.
That does happen. It does happen. Yes.
That
and we have answers, and the answers are not always listened to. And it's this particular topic, as Kiki and I know, is the most horrific. And so what happens is human beings shut down and they don't want to hear you and push you away when there are answers. And answers start actually from childhood. With developmental, I'm developmentalist. So within developmental psychology, we know how to formulate the nurturance and formulate the brain to not have lack of empathy. But we're not listening, we're pushed aside. People don't want to hear it. We have answers as to how to help the victim with PTSD from chronic sexual assault versus episodic. We know how to help them be cured. However, for various reasons, we're not able to because the family won't support that or the person won't support that.
Okay, I'll tell you. Somebody's got a solution here, and they are saying these perpetrators should be publicly whipped. they ought to be humiliated in the same way they humiliate the victims. My question is, why would you humiliate someone that you don't know? Why would you do that? Like, for example, a girl who you don't know her, you've sexually assaulted her, you've videoed it, you've put it on the internet, everyone has seen it, you've shown her face, people can see her. Why? What did you do that for? Why do
The person who did that didn't have any empathy, doesn't have a feel, and we don't go into their mind because we can't, because we have empathy. It's impossible to go into psychopath's mind. We don't do that. It's not healthy to do that. So we know, based on different factors, not just one, this person 100%, not 99%, has no empathy. No, we good people think that we can hug somebody, nurture somebody to get empathy. It's an impossibility. By around approximately, because this is public, I have to be careful, age 13 is when it's a done deal where there's a personality disorder. And I said around, legal disclaimer.
Why is it that when a girl is raped, the family sometimes force the perpetrator to marry her?
Okay, good question. It's the same continuum within our brain studies, the same continuum we've been talking about. Okay. See, the brain is simply like the kidney and the liver, an organ. We're not going to talk about the soul, but the brain is like the kidney and the liver. And it is an incredible organ that was created. That's a supercomputer. So when the brain is exposed to certain things before age 13, narcissistic personality disorder is formed, and psychopathy or sociopathy is formed, and they're in the family. Now, most of the time, within the family, females, because of our menstrual cycle and because of the potential of breast milk, we don't fall into psychopathy or sociopathy. It stops. But males don't have that. And they tend to be more the serial rapists, more the serial killers and so on, because they fall within that. They don't have the menstrual cycle where the nurturance is and so on and so forth. That's saying it really quick because we run out of time and quickly. So what happens in families, when we come along, we see it clearly, given our 30 years of work in it. We see clearly that the mother has no empathy. So the language I'm using, it goes deeper, right? But it's still the basic of human beings. The mother has no empathy. She doesn't feel it. She loves her child, but she doesn't feel what the child's gone through because she might have had an interest in environmental upbringing herself. So you see the issues, the difficult. It's a deep topic, which when I teach it to many, it takes about a year for everybody to get all the nuances, and particularly because of the law aspect and the psychology aspect, it's much more. So I'm hoping I'm helping.
Look, okay, let's look at it this way. When a person is raped, somebody just put about saying that rape is about power. And yes. I believe that too. She believes that too. And I think the point is that why is it that women should be empowered that if a man rapes you, you should laugh at him so that he hasn't done anything. Okay. What I need is to find solutions, or how do we
have solutions. Yeah. So we have solutions, and it'll take another hour to describe the solutions, but we do have them. Now, women are raped by their husbands and stunned and shocked, and they go to their friends in every country and tell their friend, try to discuss with their friend, and their friend dismisses it, that it's not possible, but they were raped. And women who are strong, many strong women have been raped, many, and some of them have come forward like athletes and so on and said it. They're fantastic survivors, and that's, Kiki's, the difference between victim and survivor in our field. The victim has every right to be a victim. The survivor is one that comes out with help and is now allowed to promise themselves to advocate it and speak about it openly. They are what we call the survivor. And the survivor, survivors because they've come out and said it. Movie stars, entertainers, strong women who had backgrounds.
Yeah, it took a long time.
And men. Tyler Perry was raped.
It took a long time for the movie stars to come and tell us, and they only told us recently as well. And that is a whole ball game. But
and they've had support that it works. Yeah.
my concern is about children mostly, and about children who are just entering the cusp of womanhood,
Yes,
who,
and that's
when
what we
this sort of
teach.
thing happens to them,
It's true.
you
You're
know,
absolutely right.
nothing.
And we
I
teach
want,
teenagers. Yeah.
I have reached that draconian point where I think the men should be dismembered or whipped in public or
It's very horrible.
humiliated in some way,
Yeah.
so that they see the seriousness, and let them understand that this is a part to what you are doing to women. You know, this is what.
One thing that you like to hear is that I've always advocated that if men confront men, they'll stop their nonsense. I'm saying it in a nice way publicly. If men confront men, they'll stop their nonsense. But men don't do that. If in a neighborhood you've heard that there's a suspicion of something like this or domestic violence, and a man in a neighborhood go and knock on the door, the good men, because there are lots of good men, knock on the door, trust me, the man is going to be much more careful not to do that again. If the men knock on the door and say, like the Promise Keeper men, we're taking you to counseling now and you're staying there, or we're taking you to jail now, that helps, but men don't do that. So we have been around the world, Saudi Arabia included, saying, men, you're good. Please stand up and knock on that door and take them to jail, take them to police, stay there and face them. They're not doing it.
I mean, there is a story about, I've got another person, but she's trying to get on, she can't get on. And I agree with the person who said castrate the men. I think.
We do it mostly with chemicals, though. We do castrate them, by the way, folks, at clinics, but it's with chemicals. It's not with a knife.
I don't know what's happening in Ghana. We don't have much time, but what I need to say, though, is in India, after a huge spate of rapes, women militia came out, and they came out with all sorts of things, and they fought the men, and they are still doing it.
Yeah.
Now, I think that we should also try to do the same in Ghana, where men should be named and shamed. I mean, if a man is supposed to be a big man, as they say in Ghana, or he's somebody who is respected, so
he needs to be thrown in prison with everybody else. He needs to be thrown in prison with everybody else and get a life sentence.
I'm like an Arab. My brain, when it comes to punishment, is on the Arabic level.
I am too, but I'm being careful.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean,
I am too. I'm like you.
You don't have to be careful on this particular show to say that for me, I would like the man to be dismembered.
100%.
I like. He should not be
100%.
killed.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you have dismembered the chick that you attacked, raped, whatever you did.
But you see, on shows like this, somebody, because I work with the Continuum, somebody will come and say, Kiki and Dr. B said I should do this. I'm going to the Pizza Hut to do this. And then our name will be dragged in court, and that's why I caution you to be careful. We will be called to court as witnesses. Did you help this person do this to that person tonight?
I did not help anyone. Did that person
So that's a legal disclaimer.
Did that person, look, I mean, we are in a world where a lot of people get away with a lot of things.
Yes.
So as you're the lawyer, and if something comes up, you can be there so that you get us out of jail. But the point
no, I don't do that. I'm a prosecutor type. Oh, no. When somebody's raped a 9-month-old, a 4-year-old, when people are around my friends and I can tell that they've been doing domestic violence, no, I'm the one that puts them away. And I can say that publicly. All my students, my colleagues know that. I'm not the public defender type at all.
Somebody said that the Ghanaian, that it will never happen because Ghanaian society is deeply patriarchal. We make it so. We are the enablers of making men the patriarchs. We are making them so. So
look at publicly. You're right. Look at publicly what the U.S. has gone through. It's patriarchal as well.
Well, we enable the men. Now, if a man says that a girl should be circumcised and you believe that, and therefore you're circumcised the woman, then hey, you are helping, because there are women who will say, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be doing. That is where what is wrong with women, actually? What do we understand?
So we have groups to make.
You're
right. You're
What
right.
is happening to us?
You're right. So we have groups. We have so much that will help. We don't have to be creative. We just have to roll it out. We have women who are vigilant in Ghana as well as Canada or England, the UK, our mother country in the US. We have women who have done defense training. They have black belts. We have women who are mothers, the lions and the cubs, and they get together against this. However, we can't go in every house. And the perpetrator offender is so malicious and evil that he's wearing a white tie, no, sorry, a white shirt with a collar and a nice tie. And everybody say, oh, what a lovely man. And meanwhile, we find out soon enough, he's the most horrific person you could ever meet. So we have this, but how do we get into every household? And that's where developmental psychology comes in, where we try to teach the parents everywhere of how to develop the child, but they don't listen to us because we're doing it per brain sciences.
My thing is, when a lot of people have mentioned the patriarchal society that we have, both in Ghana and the States, it's here in the UK.
Yeah.
My question is simple. Can we not look at it as women and decide that this is one of the things that we can strengthen ourselves in a way that we can start to defend and protect our children from this sort of perpetration? And therefore, if something like this happens, there is a lot. Look, I discovered yesterday by watching a film yesterday, a legal film, that there was a coercion law. There is a law on coercion. There's a law that if you coerce your wife to do certain things, your girlfriend, your daughter, etc., you can go to prison. It's criminal.
Correct.
Now, if that is the case, and you have a child in your house, or you meet someone, your nephew, or you do any of these heinous crimes to somebody, it is a crime. We have to rise above this. Oh, it can be dealt within the family. It's something that we can look at. Let's talk about it. We are harming ourselves, and we are becoming a miserable, hard, wicked nation all over the world because we are not looking after our children. We are not protecting them. Somebody said we need to listen to our children more, and we need to ignore society and what society will feel about a certain person. If I knew somebody who seemed to be respectable and yet he rapes a child, I'm going to help to kill him. I'm going to help.
There you go.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry if people think that is too draconian, too terrible.
No, it's understandable. You have empathy. You're a healthy person. And somebody with empathy and sympathy would react like you would.
We need to start listening to our children. We need to start protecting them properly. And if you are damaged in any way, or something like this has happened to you, you need help, so that you do not let this thing. When they talk about generational punishment, or family, it's a curse, and it is not a curse. It is a situation where you can stop it.
And you can get help. I'm glad you brought that up, because what happens within clinical work is the victims, when eventually, even if they're 60 years old, and it happened, say, chronically when they were a teenager at home, when they come, they usually come, by the way, folks, when the perpetrator's dead. Just want to let you know that that's the stats. When they're dead, then they can come because they know they don't have to go to court and put their dad in jail or their grandfather. So what we find out, which everyone needs to know, is they all of a sudden say, like Chicken Little, wow, I spoke about it and the sky didn't fall. I'm okay. In fact, I feel better. I'm glad I spoke about it. And then they just start speaking about it, and they're becoming a survivor. But it took 40 years, 50 years. And the same with the teenager and the young adult who says to their friend, and then their friend tells the other friend, and they tell everybody. They look up and say, wow, like Chicken Little again, the sky hasn't fallen. I don't know why I didn't say it earlier. And that's awesome. And they get the support. So please, everyone know that. They don't know that before they start talking. After they start talking, they realize that. They get a lot of support. However, in some places, the victim gets killed.
The
The trench
victim
work,
was killed, yeah.
for talking, the terrain that we work in this particular horrific field is rough. The victims can get killed. And women who report that their children were sexually molested by their husbands or so, sometimes they kill their husband, and guess who goes to prison? We hate that. The women. Women get harsher sentences, by the way, for homicide than men do, because the conception conditionally is the female is an angel. How could she kill a man? She must be the devil. Isn't that crazy? So they give them usually higher sentence. And just to let you know, it's crazy. There's a lot to talk about, a lot more. Human trafficking included, by force, fraud, coercion, sex trafficking, a lot of work we've done in this area. This takes a year to help everyone understand. So people need to have this kind of education from a young age.
This is horrible. Well, our time is in. We've only got 5 minutes left, and yet we still haven't gotten to the bottom of it. I don't know what to do. We need to. My advice to everyone who's listening, and anyone who listens later to this broadcast, YouTube, everywhere, is your responsibility is to your children. When you have children on this earth, your responsibility becomes your children, not your husband, not your brother. No, you shouldn't allow people to come into your home to harm your children. That's one of the things. That's the first thing. Now, if you don't think you can do that, don't have children, because the world has become so evil now.
Yeah. I have a warning. I have a warning, Kiki, that you help me remember. It's a big warning for everybody here. I've been speaking this warning out for 30 years, that we may let our child, male or female, go to our cousin's house or to our friend's house who we know extremely well. But we don't know that a cousin who's a pedophile knows the birthday party's going on this weekend and travels at night to the beloved cousin's house, and cousin welcomes them, akwaba, and they go in, and your child's in trouble. You cannot anticipate that. So having even your children go away to a beloved person's house who is beloved, you don't know who's going to come in the house and is welcome because they're brother so-and-so, uncle so-and-so. And once I teach people that, they're horrified, but they're more vigilant about their children and grandchildren.
This is horrible. I'm stressed.
But the good news, I have to give good news. There are lots of good people, and we good people have got to come together and be brave, like what Kiki and I are doing today, because it's a horrible topic to be invited to talk about, but we're doing it because it's needed.
We need to find a way to protect our children. Protecting our children is the biggest thing. Now, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to express this protect, because that is the thing. It's so important, so important. And every time you hear this, and I know a lot of people, especially the listeners on here, it's one of the things that they are upset about. This is something that you hear it and you have this feeling in your stomach of how terrible it is. I mean, I can tell you that even your own, there are times when you may have a husband, a boyfriend, and a particular time, just having sex with him is like an attack.
Spouses do rape, male spouses
do
rape.
Yeah. They do. So if you can imagine how you feel, and then how it is somebody who is young, is unexpected, and all of that. It's even worse.
So what you're doing is fabulous. What you're doing is teaching and letting people hear it and speak about it, so that others will realize, wait a second, I need to talk about what just happened, and there won't be a stigmatization.
The problem, somebody's saying the problem is the rapists and not the parents. I think it's both. I think it's there are, and I've got this guest, she's trying to get on, but it's proving difficult for her to get on. Her device is not connecting to mine, and which is serious. But the problem is that there are times when you're unsuspecting. The rapist is there, it's a predator. If you will not put your child amongst crocodiles or lions, then that, just note that there are dangerous people out there. And that's why I'm saying parents should be careful of how they...
About custody. It's called custody. What's custody they give the child over to? And it's not the parents' fault. It really isn't. Because they have innocent minds, which is a good thing. But they didn't know that that uncle or that cousin or so-and-so would be coming over that night at 2 a.m. from a different town because it's a birthday party. So this is awesome. And so the parents don't know and they let the person in. That's an extreme example, but it happens quite a bit because the perpetrators are the predators. And they like to show up at things like that and unexpectedly, and the parents don't know they're terrible. No one knows. And I have to emphasize that they are men in white shirts and ties as well. I have to speak on behalf of my many patients and clients. They want this to be known.
It's horrible. It's horrible. My guest device, the third guest device, is not coming on, and it's now our hour is up, so we have to talk about this some more later on.
Sure.
My guest had something very serious that she wanted to talk about, and it's quite devastating that we didn't get to get her on to speak. Somebody's saying education, a cultural shift, and advocacy is the same way we fight female genital
mutilation, genital mutilation.
Yeah. And I agree. I think education is key. I think women are also enablers. You talk about cultural tradition and all of these things. You talk about society and all of these things. These are the negatives in society. These are the negatives in culture. These are the negatives in some traditions. These are the negatives. Altar boys are raped. Now that's a traditional issue, because traditionally young boys are going into the churches. They're the altar boys, and then the priests take advantage of them. Same way, young girls are raped in schools. Teachers rape them. There is an issue where a teacher raped a girl of 13. The parents went crazy, ballistic, and they came on the television to talk about it, etc., etc. One of the aunties actually said on the radio show that, yeah, he's known to be like that, but we didn't think he would attack. Hello. So you knew about the teacher who was raping other people's children, and you didn't do anything about it. You didn't talk about it. And then he rapes yours, and now you're on TV, on your radio. Come on. These things, if you do not deal with it when it's happening, if you know about it, it will happen to you. It will happen to someone you know. These are evil acts, and it has to be dealt with. As it should be nipped in the bud. Hey, I've got someone. Oh, stop right. Can you hear us? My guest is on. Can you hear us? I don't know. It's been a struggle, but she's on. We are on. We can see your sign. You're on, but someone is saying that parents are enablers. in our society, many parents are somewhat enablers and are in denial and refuse to admonish the perpetrators because they are family. And that's what I'm saying. I have said this, and you know, it's true. I think parents are enabled. Some parents, not all,
Yeah,
but some
some.
of them
Yeah.
are.
And in
And
every country.
sometimes you know very well that this is happening, but
Yeah.
you don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah.
And it's just rocking of the boat. You know, in our society as well, one of the things is somebody always needs to have your back. And we are a people who, because we are afraid of society or what other people will say, even if I know that Brenya is going through something, I will not help you because people will say I am the same, or you know, and it's really painful when human beings are like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I just want everyone to know that as for me, if you're struggling, come and tell me. I will back you.
Yeah, me too. Both of us, we'll back you.
We will back you because there is something where, and it's really painful.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time I had an argument with my elder cousins. One of my elder cousins is a bully. And something happened in the family. One of my aunties had passed away and we were dealing with it. And they were trying to bully me about some issues. And my mother said, "Oh, it's okay. Look, these are your cousins, and you know, you should just let them do." And I said, "No,
Good.
I have come here to bury my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
It's my money.
Good.
My aunt spoke to me, and I want to do exactly what she wants."
Yeah.
And I did say to my mother that if you back these people, if they are my cousins, if you back them in a situation like this, when you die, what will happen to me? I am sharing this with the world for everyone to know that I don't go about talking about people's issues just to talk. It happens to me. I said this to my mother, and she was so shocked. And in truth, though that particular cousin, since my mother died, has never spoken to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, that's what I'm saying to you, that these things happen, situations happen. Do not let your children suffer under someone else.
That's right.
Whilst you are alive.
Right.
Because when you die, it will be worse. Now, I was so upset about that issue.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing, this is a private issue, and I'm sharing it with you. And I'm telling you that these things happen to us all the time.
Yeah. To give you support, I'm supporting you publicly. Our children are supposed to be better than us. Our children are supposed to be more evolved. Our children are supposed to do better because they're being nurtured by us to even go further. So my children say to me, "Mama, that those cousins of yours, they don't treat you well. Why do we have to be polite to them, Mama?" I said, oh, in our culture, we're polite to them anyway. They said, "Mama, you've taught us to be strong. You've taught us to know people. You've taught us to see people. Mama, they treat you badly and it makes us upset. And we won't. They can be far away acquaintances. We won't associate with them." And do you know what I say? I've learned from you all. You're right.
Yes. So, Starbright, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, Candy, I'm here.
Excellent. You want to tell us
yes,
why
I can hear you.
Okay, good. You want to tell us why you're here?
Yes, I'm here because I happen to be in a group on Facebook, and as I browse through posts and stuff, I happened to come across a post that spoke of a lady. Now, this lady told her friend that they had brought in a 13-year-old girl from the village to help in the house. And while she was helping the house, she came home one day and saw her husband having sex with a 13-year-old. Now, according to this lady, she says that this is what the man has been doing. It's not the first time. And this is who he is. He actually likes little girls.
Oh.
So the woman was in a dilemma right now. She told her friend the story, and her friend decided to put out the post to see what people will say. And I was so upset. So very upset that I kept on commenting on the post very, very angrily.
Yeah.
So the moderator of the group called me and she said, "I can see you're really mad." I said, "Yes." How can you bring a 13-year-old to your house, know that your husband has divergent her, raped her severally, you stumble upon it, and then you put out a post and ask people what you should do? To me, I'm sorry, excuse my French, but you have a major problem.
Yeah.
You need help, because the first thing that should come to your mind is to report your husband to the police.
Yes.
Instead, you are worried what society will think. And then after speaking to her, I couldn't sleep at night because I just couldn't fathom why somebody in their right mind and in their position, because she says her husband is a big man in society, would want to do that.
Yeah, you were
traumatized
to a
13-year-old.
You were traumatized
now,
yourself.
I put out a post. Yeah, I was, yes, I'm very traumatized. I was so upset. So I put out a post on the page and I said,
secondary trauma.
Yeah, so I said I put out a post and I said, how can you know that your husband is a child molester and a pedophile, and you're asking for advice? What advice are you looking for? I told her, I said, you are a very stupid woman. I'm sorry to say. Now, my post attracted a lot of negativity because people did not understand why I was upset. They could not fathom why I was so agitated. And I said, nobody seems to be asking if the girl has had medical attention. Nobody asked if the girl has received counseling. Now that the little girl has been camped in the house, she's not allowed to go out of fear of the fact that this couple thinks that this little girl would out them to somebody. So she's being camped in the house. Now, people started bashing me because the post, sorry to say, I insulted the lady in my post. I called her stupid, and people started bashing me for that. And I said, how can you be bashing me for this instead of bashing the lady? Nobody has asked if she needs the little girl needs any kind of help. Nobody has offered to help her. Nobody is trying to find out exactly who this lady is because she came under an anonymous post. But instead, you're all bashing me and telling me that since the husband is a big man in society, why should the matter be reported to the police? The matter should be settled in the house. And I said, this is why the African people cannot move forward. This is why we're stuck in a society that can't move forward. Because you want to settle grievous and grave issues in a home where it shouldn't be. Because this man has the tendencies of being a child molester. In fact, he is a pedophile. He is a molester. And the wife knows.
He is definitely a molester.
Yes. The wife knows. And she made the statement. She said, I know my husband likes sleeping with small girls.
Oh, Lord. Oh, jeez.
And now you're wondering why I'm upset everybody is bashing me for being upset and telling the lady to go report to the police. I'm being bashed for that. And I keep on telling them, I said, if it was your daughter, I would do the same thing for you. I would get mad for you. If it was your sister, I would move heaven and hell for you. What if she was your daughter? Would you do the same thing? Would you sit back and say, oh, it's okay. This is a traumatic experience for you, the wife. So take it easy. You don't need to call the police. It's very traumatizing. Why is everybody thinking about the wife and not the child?
Exactly.
Why is everybody focused on whether she should divorce the husband or not? Why is everybody focused on whether the wife is traumatized or not? Nobody seems to mention the child.
They don't care.
And this is the gruesome. They don't care. This is the gruesome society we live in, and that's why there's child marriages. That's why there's slavery. There's still slavery according to the kafala system in the Western in the Arab world. That's why there's still abuse on children, because when it happens, everybody just wants to cover it up and cover up their marriage and come out smiling like everything is okay. It's not okay. You've traumatized that girl. You've damaged that girl for life. She hasn't received medical attention to see if her womb hasn't been shifted. The first time you, the man, woke up and saw the girl as a sexual instrument, from that moment you destroyed her destiny. You took away her rights.
Yes.
So isn't
and nobody understands why I'm upset.
Your mic, there's something going on. If your phone, put your phone on silent. Because I can hear myself.
Sorry?
Put your phone on silent. Because I can hear myself and you're echoing. That's it. Now, once your phone is on silent, I'm talking about your microphone on your phone or whatever device you're using. You can hear me, I can hear you.
I'm talking about your microphone on your phone or whatever device you're using. You can hear me, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
But I can hear myself twice. Okay, it stopped now. Excellent.
I can hear myself twice.
Oh, really?
Okay, it stopped now.
Okay. So
okay. Now,
I'm so sorry.
This issue that you've told us, unfortunately, is Facebook. So there's no way of finding out where the people are, where they live. You don't know. We don't know if the child is still alive, because if it is a choice,
there are ways to find them. There are ways to find them. I've done that.
I told the moderator of the group asked me a question. She said, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? I said, first of all, I'll arrest the person who posted the message. Then
Ghana,
I would arrest her friend, who's the wife. Yes, I said I'll arrest the person who is her friend, and then arrest the wife, because her friend is the one who came up with the post. So you know the lady and you know what's going on. You are an accomplice.
Yeah. I said
when I'm done with that, I will go to every blogger and every news agency and let people know that this is what you're doing. You're protecting a child molester and encouraging him.
Can I say this legally? Everybody is complicit legally.
So because of that, she's yes. So because of that, she's a bit hesitant to let me know exactly who the people are. And I told her, you don't tell me, I will try to find out.
We can find out easily.
Well, we have to, after the show, I think maybe you should connect with Dr. Brenya.
Maybe you should connect with Dr. Brenya.
to find out
Okay.
who because this is child protection, everyone is listening and everyone is silent. This is a shocking thing, a shocking revelation to bring out.
It's very disappointing how women would stand up and say, "Oh, sweep it under the rug. It's okay." It's the wife is traumatized too, and nobody mentioned the child. Nobody.
I'm so sorry.
And she's a servant. So after being raped by the husband, she goes cleaning?
Yeah, let's talk.
Really?
Let's talk afterwards because we can easily find the family easily with IT, technology, with different ways. I've done it before.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to mute you now.
Okay.
I'm going to
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm sorry I spoke with...
Yeah, people, I'm sorry you had to hear this, but one of the truths of life is you have to hear it. And in life as well, you have to hear some of these things and then find ways to deal with them. I've got someone else who wants to come on. Kristen, trust me, I would like to put you on, but your device is not connected. I don't know how, but you're not on. So you have to click on, when you are trying to get onto this, it asks you if you want your computer or your device to be connected, and you have to say yes. That's the only way you can be connected to this show. So, Kristen, you can go back and then try and get back in, but click on the connection of the microphone. A lot of people have daughters on this show. Now, if you have a daughter and you want to protect her, you have to listen to your daughter, you have to talk to her, you have to ask her questions, the places she goes, who she sees, especially when she sleepovers and all of these things are very, very, very dangerous. So it's up to you. If you know the parents, you trust them, you can let your child go. But you can't just let these things just happen like that. Now, especially house helps are being raped in their houses and then made to work, just as the lady Starbright expressed. And that is also something that, as we are moving into a developed world, we really should stop this. We should find ways to stop it. And why should you think that it is important for you to protect your husband against somebody else's child? Why then bring the child in if you know that your husband is a molester? Why do we do this? You are enabling evil, and that is very dangerous. That is very dangerous indeed. And I think these are issues that we all have to be careful about, how we treat other people's children. Because if you know that there's such a thing happening under your watch in your house, even if you are not doing it, you are an accessory to the fact. You are an accessory to violence. Rape is violence, and you are an accessory. You are aiding and abetting your husband, your son, your brother to do something as evil as that to somebody's poor innocent child. Rape is the most dangerous thing to happen to a woman, and people have to become aware that these are the things that do not aid a country to you are not helping the female of the species to get on in life. Why? Why are we so wicked? Have you got a last word? Star, you're still here. So if you want to say something, that's fine. If you're not, she's gone. But with you, Dr. Brent, do you have any last words to say?
I want to thank everyone who had the courage to come on stage, because the topic was not an easy topic, and we all want to thank Candy. Candy needs our support and our coverage. Candy is one of us who has gone forth to advocate on the most difficult issues. So that's what I want to say. And I have got to tell Starbright this. Starbright, there's so many words that a book could be written about you, of your passion and your courage and your soul for such a time as this. So Starbright, I'm saying this publicly so you remember, but keep covered and keep wise as you do your work, because I can see that you're going to go to mighty places helping little boys, little girls, women, men, and the victims. Thank you, Starbright. And Kiki, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah, Starbright, do you have a final word to say?
I would say that if you know a child molester, if you know anybody who isn't doing right by children, by women, don't let go. Come out and talk about it. Report them to the police. Get them counseling. Get them help. Don't just sit back and think it's okay because of society. It's not right. And this is how, by not speaking, this is how you condone to what has already been done to them. This is what I have to say. So I think people should speak up. Who should speak up to help other people?
Thank you, Star. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Now, what I have to say is that our society, we enable the men to have a patriarchal society. We, the women, are the ones who allow them to do these things. This story Star has just told us, it shows that the woman has enabled her husband to rape a child because that's what he likes to do. Now, that is evil. Now, if we continue to enable people to do things that we know are bad, if we continue to put situations under the carpet or hide them because we know, have you ever thought about the victim? Have you ever considered what the victim is going through? Do you realize the damage that you are doing to that child's mind or that woman's mind? We need to be careful, especially when we say that we come from a Christian country. Your Christianity is being tested. Your womanhood is being tested. And if today you see all of these things and don't do anything about it, tomorrow your granddaughter, it may happen to her. Every animal tries to protect their child. And if you watch the animals that you don't respect, they try to protect their children. The chicken that you do not respect, you eat. They try and protect. They have their wings. They cover their chicks until they grow. And you smart human beings, you smart Africans, you smart Ghanaians, you treat your children like this? I think people should be careful how they get on in this world, how they claim their religions, how they claim their standing in society, because one day it will happen to you. I don't know how to be polite about this, and I don't know how to be sweet about it. So today's show is a very terrible show, and we're talking about something that is so hard, so difficult, and so terrible, and everyone needs to know about it. So people who are listening on YouTube, which it will be on television on Saturday in the UK, and this will be on YouTube from tomorrow morning. Share it widely. Let people know that this is what's happening and it has to stop. And if you know somebody who's it's happening too, you have to report it. And we have to start finding ourselves into militia gangs and start dealing with those people who are doing this. That is my final word. I want you all to think on it. Bye-bye. Be well.